Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Lucy and today's video I'm going to be doing a start to finish mosaic crochet mug rug. So this tutorial is for beginners. I'm going to teach you how to read the charts, how to do the stitches and to follow along until you've made yourself a really cute little mug rug. The pattern I'm using today is really simple, easy to follow, perfect for beginners. And once you've mastered this, your options are endless and you can run wild with it. So let's get started and make ourselves something really cute. So to make this project, I have used cotton DK yarn. I like the brand Yarn Smiths from Wool Warehouse, but any cotton yarn that you prefer. You could use acrylic, but I would recommend cotton for this as it's a mug rug. You're going to be putting hot mugs on it, so that is protective. I don't think acrylic would melt, but just to be on the safe side, I would use cotton. So if you're interested in doing the same colours that I've done, I've used Yarn Smith's Cotton DK in colours Champagne, Antique Gold, Ginger and Olive Green. So those are the colours I have used, but you could use 5 different colours or 6 different colours. So you have your base and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could just use 2 colours. It's entirely up to you. All you need is contrasting. So you need your base colour, which I like to use a cream as it stands out and makes the design pop, and then the colours of your choice. As it's DK yarn we're using, I am using my 3mm hook. It's nice to make the stitches nice and tight. It helps to keep it looking really neat and tidy. So I'd go with a 3mm hook, and you will need some scissors. So I've printed off my chart in simple grey and in the colours that I have used here, just to demonstrate for you. So with Mosaic Crochet, you will be using a chart to follow. You do get some patterns, with mine I do written descriptions too, but there will always be a chart to follow, so it's important that we understand how these work. So on our charts, we will have up the side A, B, A, B, A, B. So this is your colour. So if I flip this over, you can see on the back you have alternate colours. So A will be our main base colour, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. So that's what that means. We will have some squares with X's in and some squares without. A square with a cross or an X in it is a double crochet in the front loop only, so you're going to double crochet down into the front loop of the row below. And a square that has nothing in it, one of these, is a single crochet in the back loop only. So I'll go into more detail about that. But that is basically it with the charts. So I'm going to get started and show you as I go, and hopefully by the end of it you will have yourself a lovely mug rug. So the first thing we're going to need to do is make a chain to put our first row into. So this pattern has 25 stitches across, so we're going to make a chain of 25, 26, 27, 28. The reason we add 3 more chains onto it is because if you look at this, at the very beginning and the very end of each row, you have 1 stitch, which is an ordinary single crochet. That's just sort of the edge stitch. So we're adding 2 for that, and then we're adding an extra 1 just for our turning chain to get us going the other way, so we have the right count at the end of it. So to start with, make your chain 28 stitches, 28 chains long, sorry. I shall continue to do that. Pause now and come back when you have a chain of 28. So I have chained 28. Using the last chain as our turning chain, we're going to go back into the loop at the back of the chain. So if you look at your chain, you can see the lovely V. We're not working into the top of the V, we're going to flip it over and work into the loop or the bump at the back of the chain. This just creates a really nice neat edge on your final piece. I shall show you on this one. So the V is still there because we worked into the back bump, and that just creates a similar edge on both sides. It looks really neat and tidy. So we're going to single crochet into each one of those, and we should have, by the end of it, 27 stitches. So if you want to pause now and go and do your 27 stitches across in the back bump, and I shall meet you at the other end. So I've made it to the end of my chain, of my row of single crochets, sorry, in my chain. Now I'm going to do a chain one right at the end. We're going to snip, pull our yarn through, and that is our first row. So this counts on our chart as row A, the very first row, and as you can see there are no crosses in that row, so that is a row of single crochets. Now we're going to go up to row B. I'll show you my colour one. We're going to do the orange. Row B is also all single crochets, but as we've started the design this time, we're no longer working into the chain. This time we're doing our single crochets into the back loop only. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so we have our piece. We're going to go into our very first stitch, which, as I said before, is our edge stitch. So that is an ordinary single crochet through both of the loops, just to secure your yarn to the piece. So that doesn't count as your first stitch. This is the extra 2 that we've added. Now we're going to do a whole row of single crochets into the back loop only. So the back loop, if you look at your V, you have a front loop and a back loop. You're going into the stitch just through the back loop and doing a single crochet. So we're going to do that all the way along for this row. There are no doubles on this row. And as you can see, I've just done a few stitches. But as you can see, because we've gone into the back loop only, we've left the front loop exposed, which is ready if we need to do a double crochet into the front loop only. That is where we will be putting it. So that is why we work in the back loop only. So going all the way across, pause it now and continue along. And I shall come back to you once I've reached the end. Whole row of single crochets, back loop only. So I've made it one away from my very last stitch. And as with the first stitch, which was just an ordinary single crochet, I'm going to do that into my last stitch. So the first and last stitch are ordinary single crochets, and then you have 25 single crochets in the back loop only in between. So I've done my single crochet at the end, and then I'm going to chain 1, snip, and pull it through. And that is the end of row 2. So now we are on row 3. Row 3 is colour A again, so we're going back to our cream colour, and this one has double crochets in it, so we've already started our double crochets. For the very first stitch we have a double, then we have a single in the back loop only, we then have a double, and then we have 3 singles in the back loop only. Double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles, and the pattern repeats until the end there. I will put the chart on the screen for you to follow as we go. So we're going to pick up our cream colour, or colour A, whichever you're using, I do apologise if you can hear lots of bashing and crashing in the background. My neighbour's having some scaffolding removed and it's quite noisy. So, as I said before, our very first stitch is almost a non-stitch. It's just a single crochet, an ordinary single crochet to attach the yarn on, and it's the second stitch that we start working with as stitch number 1. So we're jumping straight into a double crochet for our very first stitch on this row. So we yarn over and we are going down to the front loop of the row below. So this is why it's called overlay crochet. It'll show better once I've done a few more stitches, but we are going over the orange row with our double. The next stitch is a single. So again, like the row before, we just do a single in the back loop only. And now we have another double. So we do our yarn over and we're going down over the orange into the row below, into that front loop of the row below, and you complete your double crochet. And then we have 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, and then another double. So make sure as well, as you're doing your doubles, you are actually going into the stitch along. It's quite easy to accidentally go into the one you've just done. Count along and then go down from there, and that will help you keep the correct count. So I did continue along the row, but my camera cut out, so I'm back to where I just was, hopefully. So as you can see, the cream colour has overlaid the orange. Now we have 3 more single crochets in the back loop only. 2, 3, and for our 4th stitch it is a double, making sure we're going across to the next stitch along in the row below and putting our double in there. Another 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, the double in the next stitch along in the row below, front loop only, 3 singles, back loop only, 1, 2, 3, a front loop only, 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, a double, and at the end of the chart here we have 1 single, I've already cut my yarn because I've already actually made this bit of the video, unfortunately it didn't film. So we've got 1 single, the last stitch is a double, so that's the last stitch on the chart, but to complete the row we are now going to do a single into our very last stitch, just an ordinary single through both loops, and then chain 1, and that's where you would snip and pull that through. So this is row 3 complete. So we are back to our orange colour for row 4. Here we are on row 4, colour B. So our very first stitch is going to be a single crochet, then we have a double, then a single, then a double, then a single, then a double, then a single. So it's alternate all the way along. So for our very first stitch we're just doing an ordinary single crochet to attach our yarn. So for stitch number 1, it is a single in the back loop only. My yarn is a little bit splitty, there we are. Now we're doing our double, which is going in between these 2 doubles, and you'll start to see some of the pattern emerging. A single into the top of that double there, and a double, so they're alternate. Single, double. Again, making sure you are moving along a stitch. Each time you do a double, it's very easy to accidentally do a double into the wrong stitch, but you want a space there where you have your single and then your double. Single, double. So this is quite an easy row as it's alternate. Single, double, single, double. So I'm going to continue along. If you want to pause it now and continue along as well, and I shall catch up with you at the end. And it's starting to look like this. So I'll catch up with you at the end and we'll do our last stitch together. So we've ended on a single in the back loop only, and now don't forget our very last stitch, which is a single crochet through both loops and a chain 1. Let's pull our yarn through. So at the end of row 4 it should look like this, and this is where you can see how the overlay helps the pattern. So if you compare this row to this row, you can see that because the cream overlays in between these, it gives this lovely zigzag, and because we haven't done that yet on this row, it actually has, we have our little squares instead. So once we have overlaid the cream colour into there, that's what will cover up this piece of orange here, creating this shape. So once you get the concept of that, I feel like it's plain sailing from here, really. It's like printing a picture. I love it. Each row you gain a bit more of the picture. So let's get on with row 5. So row 5, we're back to colour A. Starting off, every single row with colour A starts with a double, and then we have 3 singles and a double, 3 singles and a double. So that is the repeat pattern of this row. We start with a double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles, double. So let's get going with that. So I have colour A ready. First stitch is an ordinary single to attach. Okay, so stitch 1 on the chart is a double. And then we have 3 singles in the back loop only. 1, 2, 3. Another double in between those 2. And as I said on that one, you can now see that it is becoming a zigzag more than little squares. So we need to do 3 singles across the top of that one. 1, 2, 3, and a double in between those 2. You can see the pattern starting to emerge. This is what I love so much about Mosaic Crochet. With each row you do, the pattern starts to show itself, and that's how it gets so addictive, because you, especially when you're doing more intricate designs, you just really want to see how the next row evolves the design. It gets quite exciting. Sorry, I'm whizzing on, I'm getting excited. So we've just done a double into that one, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3 singles and then a double into there. I'm really passionate about mosaic crochet. I love it. It has captured my heart completely. So there we are. We're going to continue along. We haven't got far to go, so I shall do that on camera with you. 3 singles, back loop only, and then we have a double into that one. 3 singles, 2, 3, and our last stitch is a double on the chart, and then we just add that one more single crochet in at the end there and chain 1 to complete. So that is the end of row 5, and here you have your very first pattern. So now we're just basically going to repeat that pattern another 4 times to create our mug rug. I shall do more rows with you to get you in the flow. So as I'm doing the 3 different colours, this next row, row 6, is going to be my green row. So if you look at row 6, there are no crosses in there at all, so that is all single crochets back loop only, nice and easy. But I'm going to do it in my green colour. You can obviously do whichever colour you prefer. You can also just do this in the 2 colours and just continue on with the 2 colours. That also looks really nice. So our very first stitch, as always, is just an ordinary single crochet to attach. And for this row, it's just single crochet back loop only all the way across to our last stitch, where we do our single crochet and chain 1 to finish. So I'm just going to carry along and do that. If you pause it now and catch up with me at the end, it will help us not to make this video too long. So I shall carry along and come back to you when I get to the end. So I've made it to the end. We're going to do our single crochet, chain 1, snip. Okay, so the next row we're going back to colour A, and we start with a double always on the row A for this chart, single crochet, double, and then we have 3 singles, double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles. So we're just repeating row 3 that we did before. So our first stitch is an ordinary single crochet, and the first stitch of this row on the chart is a double, so we're going down into there, stitch 2 is a single in the back loop only, stitch 3 is another double, and now we have a repeating pattern across, so it is 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, and a double, 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, and a double, 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, and a double, making sure you're always moving across to the next stitch along when you do your doubles. 1, 2, 3 singles, double, 1, 2, 3 singles and a double, and we're at the end of our chart now. So at the end of this chart we have this double, then we have 1 single and another double. Then you complete with your single crochet through both loops and your little chain. So as you can see, you get into a little rhythm, a routine. So we knew that this part in the middle was 3 singles double, 3 singles double, 3 singles double. If you're making a blanket or something that has chains for miles, you can really get into a rhythm of it, and you won't need to keep checking your chart so often. Once you've figured out how that row flows, it's easy to just continue along. So that was row number 7. Time for row 8. Okay, so for row 8 we have gone back to colour B, which in my case is the green. We're starting off with a single, double, single, double, single, double. So it's alternate for every stitch, nice and easy to remember. Starting off in there. So I do recommend, if you are a beginner, to do repeat patterns like this to help, as I say, get in the flow. The more ornate patterns, once you've managed to do these, I would wait to do those until you're more confident. But doing repeat patterns really helps you get into the flow of it. So we're starting off with a single and then a double, and then we're going to alternate all the way along. Single, double. So if you pause it now, we can meet up at the other end together. So we're just doing single, double, all the way along. And I shall meet you at the other end in a moment. So this row's finished on a single in the back loop, and then we're going to do our single at the end there, chain 1, and finish that row. So again, as I said before, on this orange row, with the next row we're going to be overlaying in between these, which will create the zigzag shape. At the moment they're little squares. So the next row, using colour A, which is row 9, we'll be going in between these, creating that lovely zigzag shape. So for row 9 we have our double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles, double. So I've already attached it, so we start with our double, three singles, 1, 2, 3, and a double. And already you can see that's starting to make it into a zigzag shape. 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, one over, double into the row below, 3 singles, 1, 2, 3, double. So I shall continue along, 3 singles double, 3 singles double until we get to the end, and I shall do my last stitch and cut the yarn ready for row number 10. That's the end of row number 9. You end on a double crochet and then you do your last stitch there, and that is 2 repeats of this zigzag pattern. So for row number 10, we are changing colour again if you wish to change colour. For colour B, I'm going to be using this sort of mustardy yellow. So again, as it's a repeat pattern, the very first row of the next colour, so row 10, so it's row 2, row 6 and row 10, it's all single crochets in the back loop only. So you do your starting stitch and then all the way across, single crochets in the back loop only. So if you want to pause it now and catch up with me when we get to the end, do your single crochet at the end and chain 1, snip your yarn, and we'll be ready for row 11 already. So here's our row of single crochets only. Back to our colour A on row 11. So we start with a double, single, double, and then 3 singles, double, 3 singles, double, 3 singles until we get to the end, and then it's a double, single, double again. So we start with our first starting stitch. And the first stitch along is a double. Then a single. Yarn is splitting, then a single, double, and then 3 singles, sometimes cotton yarn likes to be a bit splitty, I don't know why. There we are, 3, and then a double. So continue along and I shall catch up with you at the end. So I've almost made it to the end of that row. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeats of the 3 and double. So there's a single, and then the last stitch is the double. And then we do our finishing single crochet with our chain. And that is the end of row 11. Let's get to row 12. Okay, so row 12 is a repeat of row 4, row 8 and row 8. So it starts with a single and then we have double, single, double, single. So we attach our yarn. We're starting with a single and then we're going to alternate all the way along with our doubles and our singles. So if you want to pause it now and catch up with me. I shall meet you at the end. So we've ended that row on a single crochet and then we do our final closing stitch. So I'm sure by now you've sort of got the routine that we're doing here. So we're back to that stage where we need to do the cream in between those to make it into a zigzag shape. And then that's around 3 of the pattern. So that's row 13 we're on here. We're going to do colour A. And once I've completed this row for you, I'd like you to do the other 2 repeats without me, because this is going to be a very long video and I'm actually running out of storage space. So, and I believe in you. That's the main thing. I believe in you. You can do it. So this row, starting on a double crochet, we have 3 singles across the top of the zigzag, and then double crochet in between those. So it's just like before. I'm sure by now that you've probably got the hang of it. So continue along, and I shall have a little chat with you when we get to the other end. So that is the end of row 13. We have a few more rows to go just to do 2 more repeats, but I'm sure you can do that without following me along, as it is just exactly what we have done before. I'm just squeezing this bit of film in, splicing it in, because I forgot to say the very last row that you're going to do on this chart is another row of A. So you're doing, so this was the last row of the chart here, row 21. Row 22 I'm going to do with A again, so I'm carrying on from the same colour. This is the only time you do the same colour next to each other, and that is just going to be a row of single crochets all the way along. The reason I'm doing that is, if you look at the bottom here, it's deeper than the top. So with this one, it just evens out the space from the bottom to the top. So I've just done a row of single crochets at the top to even it out. And that will be your chart and your little mug rug complete. So continue along. I'm not going in the back loop only with these, as it's the very last row. I'm just single crocheting all along for one final row. So I just needed to splice that in. Sorry if my video seems a bit jumpy at this point. I nearly forgot to say. With this one, to complete it, as it is cotton, I was able to brush out the ends. I just simply used a comb and brushed out the ends and trimmed them. You can, if you want to, twist them together and tie a little knot and create a little trimmed edge. Some people weave them in, but I'm sure if you're like most crocheters, weaving in ends is a nightmare. So I think this is a really nice way of doing it, and it makes it look like a rug, which is really cute for putting your mug on. So please do continue up the pattern. I'm going to put the chart now on the screen large for you to screenshot so you can copy and recreate this design. But before I go, I wanted to show you a more complicated design and just explain it to you to help you for future patterns. So here we have a much fancier design, which might seem a bit more intimidating to you, but it is exactly the same as what we've just been doing. So if you look closely, I'll just show you to this line here. The first row is just single crochets in the chain. The second row is single crochets in the back loop only, there's no crosses there. And then on the third row here, you have a single crochet, a double crochet into the row below, single, 4 doubles into the row below, and these are all singles. So it's exactly the same method, it's just that the crosses, the doubles and the singles are in different places. So the crosses and the blank squares are in different places, and that is what creates the patterns. So once you've mastered something very simple like this, you can immediately go on to something as intricate and beautiful as this design, and the world's your oyster. Basically, you just need your charts and you can create so many incredible things. I absolutely love Mosaic Crochet. It is my ultimate favorite thing to do, and designing it is also an absolute passion of mine. So do expect to see lots of patterns coming from me and more tutorials. I really hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, any at all, please let me know. I can make separate videos. I can try and answer them for you. I really want to help you learn this skill because it is fun, and I just feel like everyone should be able to do it. So if there was anything that caused questions for you, please let me know and I will do what I can for you. And in the meantime, I shall see you again very soon for another tutorial.